already cleaned this bank of hydraulic lifters, and so now I have to do this bank of hydraulic lifters. And I figured instead of putting the link to the YouTube video, I'll show you how I did it. I mean, pretty much the same way he did it. It's a little, I think it was a little faster. My way is a little faster. So what I've been doing is pulling these out 5 at a time, and you can kind of see some of that old oil right there. It's kind of like gray looking. I don't know if these have to be in order, but I've been keeping them in the same order. You know, so just pull all these things out. Again, for my own sanity, I've been doing these 5 at a time because to try to do all 24. I think our math was off too, Jonah. We said 32 or something like that. It's actually
our math?
6 times.
Your.
No, you agreed with me. Oh Lord.
You gotta pull that off?
Yeah, you gotta take this cap off to get it out. So basically, you're just gonna take all 6 of these. Well, you're gonna take all of them out, clean them, and I'll show you real quickly how I took it out and how I broke these things down. And like I said before, you can go and buy these brand new, but they're like 60 bucks a pop, and that gets pretty expensive when you got to buy 24 of them. All right, so the way I found was the easiest to get these things apart was I've got a piece of wood here, and then I just got a rag wrapped over it to keep it from getting too banged up. And then you take this thing right here. Now, mine were kind of stuck. Some of them were kind of stuck, so I had to spray them with brake cleaner, and I would just put a little shot of brake cleaner in there and then kind of squish it down, let it sit. And before I started, I did all of them like that because I think honestly the hardest part of this is just getting this thing apart. And you'll see why in a minute. Some of them will come real easy, and some of them do not come so easy. So just squirting a little bit of brake cleaner in there to make these things a little easier to take apart. So you do that, and then you take this and you slam it up against this wood until this part pops out. And you know that this pops out when it's even with the bottom of the cap. So sometimes you got to knock them a few times. There we go. So I'm not sure if you can see that very well, but it's sitting flush. So then you want to take some needle nose pliers. Again, highly recommend that you use these ones that have a little bend in them. I tried ones with a straight thing. It didn't work. I even tried like regular pliers. I think I got these from Harbor Freight, like a whole set for like 20 bucks, so they're dirt cheap. And then you're just going to take this thing in your hand like this, and you're going to grab this piece. Don't worry about scratching these things. They're really tough. And then you're going to pull it out and wobble it left and right. And this can be very time consuming and dangerous because you could catch your fingers. Yeah, kind of like pulling a tooth, just like Jonah said.
I don't know how many dentist viewers we have, but
probably none. So just wiggle it back and forth. Obviously, you don't want to damage this, so you got to be careful there. All right, there it goes. So then that thing pops up, right? And when I'm doing all of these, when I'm doing 6 at a time, what I'll do is I'll just take them all apart. But before I take it completely apart, I'll take some brake cleaner, spray it in there. Just kind of like shake that around, let it sit. And then there's these two pieces right here. I'm not sure what they're called, but take them apart. And again, you can see some more of that like milky oil because we had like a little bit of water in our heads. So really glad that I took these apart. And then I'll shoot a little bit of brake cleaner in this one, a little bit of that one, and then I'll let that set, and then I'll do this one. So. Okay, as you can see, I have all these parts soaked in brake cleaner. You can really clean these any way you want to. You can use the Chem Dip, let it sit over 24 hours. That's a really good idea and it works well, but I think ours are not that dirty. I think this is a low mileage motor, and so the buildup that we're seeing and the dirt that we're seeing is just from the water and oil sitting in there. So I don't think we need that. I don't think we need the Chem Dip. I think the brake cleaner and WD-40 are going to do a great job. So what I do is I'll take this, kind of shake it around. After it's been sitting, that brake cleaner is going to basically eat up all that crud, and then you want to shake it out because in there is going to be like a little lid. Can the video see this at all or no?
Yeah.
Okay. So you got this cap, and then you got this, and then you want to take this apart again. What I do with this is I just take a little pick and then kind of like swirl it around the outside to get some of that gunk off of there and pour it out, and then pull the spring out, kind of scratch just around the bottom, then pour out the gunk. And then I'll take a Q-tip and clean the inside of it. So, I mean, just that Q-tipping alone, I think clean this thing out pretty good. So clean that crap out of there. Q-tip it to death. And then this piece right here has a ball valve on it. This piece right here has a ball valve on it, so you want to make sure that you squirt that out, clean that out. So what I'll typically do is I'll Q-tip it first, and then I'll take my brake cleaner, put it in here, press it against that ball, and just blow it out. So make sure that thing's nice and clean. And then this cap right here, this one's actually got some crud on it. I'm not sure if you can see that, but there's two little tiny holes in there. So I'll just take the brake cleaner, blast it a little bit, Q-tip it a little bit, get all the crud off of there. And then what you want to do is you want to hold it up to the light and make sure that you can see light passing through those two little holes. I don't necessarily know what those holes are for. My assumption is that has something to do with the hydraulic, the way that these things work hydraulically. I just know that, you know, you want to clean up as much of that crap as you can and not have any of the holes obstructed. So take it, hold up to the light, make sure light passes through. So like that top one, I'm not seeing light pass through. So what I just do is I just take a little wire brush and then use one of the little bristles to like poke through the hole, clear whatever's in there. Perfect. Worked beautifully. So clean that up. And then this piece right here, I just jam my Q-tip down in there, Q-tip it to death. And just keep Q-tipping it until the Q-tip is white. Sometimes you might have to do another spray. Speaking of cleaning right, you want to inspect a couple things. You could just make sure that this hole is good, that hole's good, this hole is good. You want to make sure your ball valve is good and working. You can kind of press on it, it kind of bounces back. And then you want to look at this clip, make sure that this clip still has a nice gap and it can move freely, so that way it can snap back in place. So basically, just clean these things out the best you can. So what I'll do is I'll clean all 6 of them, and then when I'm done cleaning them, I'll just soak them in WD-40 and set them aside. And then we'll move on to the next stage of cleaning. Okay, so now I got all of these. I cleaned them all with brake cleaner. I inspected them, and I soaked them in WD-40. So now I'm going to show you how to do your final clean. I put new gloves on because I didn't want any of the muck from the first go to get on here. So I'm going to show you how to do your final clean and then reassemble them. Right, so I take my Q-tip and just try to get some of this excess WD-40 off of here from that last soak. Do one final inspection because you definitely don't want to mess this up and then have to open your valve covers again. This is good. Got my spring there. Spring's good. Got this. One last Q-tip. It's good. No dirt. It works. And then one last Q-tipping of this thing. You know, just kind of Q-tip it. Get all the excess WD-40 off of it. Because you're going to end up soaking it in oil anyway. So it doesn't really matter. That WD-40 that I sprayed on there was just to like give it a little bit of a clean up. Alright, so got all the excess WD-40 off of there. And then what you're going to do basically is reassemble this thing. So the first step is you want to take this, which is the thing that was sticking out from the bottom, and you just want to squirt a little bit of oil in there. Basically all you're trying to do is coat it. You don't want to fill it up with oil, you just want to coat it with oil. Get it nice and coated inside and outside. Put a little bit inside just so I can coat it a little bit. Make sure it's not too much in there. And then you want to take your spring, drop your spring in there. Probably going to have to use your tool to get it to sit straight up and down. Make sure it's sitting straight up and down like that. And then you're going to take this thing with the ball valve, soak it in oil. And really you just got to worry about the outside because you're going to end up filling the inside with oil. So soak the outside with oil and then drop it ball down into that first piece. Now, it's kind of a tight fit, so it's going to be like kind of spongy. But what you want to do is you want to just poke that ball valve to release some of that air and push it all the way down so it's not pumped up. And then you're going to take this and you're going to fill it up with oil. Now, you need this piece right here in order to click it in. You want something that's going to clear the edge of this. So that's why I picked this. So I just set this up here. I'll pump this up with oil. Fill it all up to the top. Now, just like in the other guy's video, the reason why he does this is because you don't want too much pressure built up in these. And I actually did build one putting oil in the bottom cap, and I did notice that he was right. Like it basically stuck up too high, and what's going to happen is it's going to be pushing down on your valves, and you're not going to have compression in that cylinder. So you want to avoid that, and you want to put oil in the second container. Then you're going to take your little cap, and then you're going to stick your cap on there, boom, like that. And then you're going to click this down on there. And the way I do it is take a look, make sure I'm guided in just right. And then I just kind of get on top and push it down, and you'll feel it click. Make sure it's centered on there. Just like that. So then you're going to take a look at it. Make sure it's a little bit spongy. You're going to do one final check. Just make sure that it clicked all the way in. Just see if you can grab it. You shouldn't be able to pop it out. You know, so it's not coming out. I know I'm good. I know it's fully seated. And we're good to go. So now you just got to do that times 24. And you're done.